Hello.
Hello.
Hello, and welcome to Bigfoot for Breakfast. This is Samantha Carter.
And Sarah Jones.
And we are, once again, as usual, sitting in the basement, challenging conventional thought. Also, per usual, we're pretty excited to be sitting here talking to you and want to thank everyone who's been listening. If you get the chance and you enjoy our show, we would really appreciate it if you'd leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. It goes a long way to help out the show, and we always appreciate your positive feedback. Another thing, last month we held a little contest, and we've decided we're going to do another one for this month as well. We'll be holding this one through the last week of November, and we'll likely announce it in its entirety next weekend on Facebook Live, so be on the lookout for that awkward display, and we'll have some more good prizes for you guys. We also have something special planned for our next episode in honor of Thanksgiving. There's always a lot to be happy and thankful for, but to keep with the idea of the show, we're not going to talk about those things. So make sure and tune in next week as well to see what we've got planned for one of our favorite holidays.
Hey, do you like politics, conspiracy, current events, and just plain whimsical nonsense?
These topics and more can be found on the Question Everything Guys podcast.
A weekly episode podcast available on iTunes, Spotify, Spreaker, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, and various other podcast hosting platforms.
No topic is ever too serious. None of the jokes are politically correct, and all of the questions come with minimal answers.
Huh?
What?
Come join your host, Lanny B.
Sean.
The Mick
on the Question Everything Guys podcast.
That's gold.
Today we're going to attempt to redirect our thinking to something kind of creepy in a different way. Imagine that the world as we know it is going to end. We all really know that it's inevitable. But to us, regular everyday people, it seems like something that is billions of years away. Nothing to really worry about for us. And that is likely true. But there's been some pretty big environmental controversy regarding the insane increase in the amount of damage that humanity has done to our beautiful one and only planet Earth in recent decades. Not only that, but the interesting answers that some have come to explore in case we do so much damage that there's no coming back. It's going to be an interesting episode because we're going to be discussing many very intelligent people who are doing some amazing things for humanity to possibly have a plan B. Disclaimer.
The beliefs and opinions in this episode do not necessarily reflect the beliefs and opinions of everybody at Bigfoot for Breakfast. We are not here to impose our views on the listening audience and believe in presenting arguments and theories from as many perspectives and sources as possible so you can form your own opinions. Thank you.
How many existentialists does it take to screw in a light bulb?
How many?
2. One to screw it in and one to observe how the light bulb itself symbolizes a single incandescent beacon of subjective reality in another world of endless absurdity, reaching out toward a maudlin cosmos of nothingness.
That's deep, bro.
Right? I got it off of Criminal Minds.
Hashtag Spencer Reid. I love you.
Same.
Speaking of Dr. Spencer Reid, he actually did just publish a book not too long ago called Rumple Buttercup, a story of bananas, belonging, and being yourself. Check out Matthew Gray Gubler. The Earth exhaled and has now begun to die. It's a scary thought that Earth may someday end up like Mars, a planet that is thought to have once been full of life but is now just nothing. Uninhabitable. Any civilizations, families, beings who likely tried to save themselves and each other, anything that is left is buried far beneath the surface and probably forgotten. Did they endure some catastrophic event over which they had no control? Did they see it coming or try to stop it? Did they accept their fate, or were they advanced enough to escape? Were they the cause of their planet's depletion? All good things must end, even if it's probably billions of years away. Hopefully. Or, did they send a spaceship with 2 survivors and they landed on Earth?
That is a theory that is pretty popular.
Adam and Eve, maybe 3 survivors, Adam and Eve and Lilith. I'm just throwing that out there.
They are the ancient aliens.
Yeah.
They came here and now they are among us. Or they are us.
They say, what is it? People with, is it red hair? No, not redheads. It's
everyone's always trying to blame the redheads.
No, I'm not blaming you. No, there was like a theory about people with the Rh negative factor in their blood are like descended from an alien line. There's a theory. You should look it up. It's pretty cool.
I'll have to Google it.
Anybody who doesn't know what the Rh negative factor is, you should check out that theory.
We're going to have to employ the Google on that.
Any of you ladies who've had to receive RhoGAM injections sure know what I'm talking about.
Yep, you might be one of them.
You're all alien.
Now you're tagged.
Right? It's really just a capsule that we inject so we can keep track of all
We
of
know
the
who you
alien
are.
people.
We're getting real Alex Jones up in here.
I've given those injections. Doubt me.
It's pretty well known that NASA and other scientists have been working to explore other solar systems for signs of life by looking for other planets that might be inhabitable. There is speculation that this is happening for various reasons. 1, for the sake of exploration itself. 2, the obvious perpetual search for other life. And 3, to find other Earth-like planets, possibly to serve as our future home when we have fully depleted our own planet, or it is destroyed by the natural cycle.
Which Elon Musk is from the future, so he knows what's going to happen, so I'd believe him.
Well, there's a lot of, I don't know if they're for real or not, but there's a lot of people who are like, who is Elon Musk? Is he a time traveler?
Yes, he's a time traveler.
Okay.
Elon Musk is the SpaceX guy.
Okay, I know who you're talking about, but that he's
Tesla?
not the only one. He's not the only one that has predicted, end of the world
Yeah,
thing.
I know, but he's just very outward about it.
And very, I read an article in the newspaper about him, and it was really interesting, and I was surprised that it was in the newspaper. Like in the actual, I don't remember which newspaper it was, but it was like a credible, was it like the Times?
I don't know which news sources to consider credible anymore.
That's true. That is so true. But at least, I don't know, I found it surprising that they would go that direction in their news. Because usually they're pretty conservative. Not conservative, but not...
Not existential. I don't know if
Or,
that's
what's the
you
word? Not, I don't know, they don't usually talk about things that people think are crazy. Okay, yes they do. I don't even know
use. I don't know.
what I'm trying to say. Anyway, we're going to focus on the third thing. It's no secret that Earth is a dying planet. But before we go into the search for alternate planets, we have to first establish the possibilities that we're facing as humanity here on our own. There are several possibilities, so bear with us. Also, bear with my nasally, horrible sounding voice because I have a cold.
Get the antibiotics. I guess to start, let's just dive right into the controversial subject that looms over us all. Whether you believe that this is a big deal or not, it deserves discussion. Global warming. It's not real. I'm kidding.
We're not supposed to say that. We're supposed to be unbiased.
I'm just kidding. I don't believe that at all.
Well,
Except I can't say what I believe. I guess to start, let's just dive right into the controversial subject that looms over us all. Whether you believe that this is a big deal or not, it deserves discussion. Global warming. Hold on, I want to say it so you can reverb it. Global warming! There's a lot of disagreement among the people here, but scientists say that this is exactly what caused the largest extinction event in the history of the Earth, and that possibly it is coming around again. Dennis Quaid knows. Despite theories from the past of giant asteroids and solar flares, scientists say that they have pinpointed the extinction to this. The event, which has been dubbed the Great Dying, killed off 96% of life on Earth and happened around 250 million years ago. This was pre-dinosaurs when global warming... I always want to say the global warming. I'm so Midwest.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, let me squeeze right by ya.
Oh.
This was pre-dinosaurs when global warming triggered...
Oh, you can't talk.
This was pre-dinosaurs when global warming triggered a massive amount of volcanic activity, especially in Siberia, that completely obliterated the population of plants and animals. The volcanoes here spewed out enormous amounts of lava, liquid hot magma,
Fire.
sending up a lot of greenhouse gases into the atmosphere. This caused the oceans to heat up, which in turn depleted the amount of oxygen in the oceans, killing off most of the life within them. The thinning of the ozone layer due to the increased levels of these gases also allowed dangerous levels of UV radiation to reach the Earth's surface. Well, I think so. We're already taking care of the fish population on our own. We don't even need greenhouse gases.
We
We're
totally
just-
talk about that here soon.
We're just eating them all.
We are eating them into extinction.
I mean, I like lobster as much as the next guy.
I don't even like it. I don't even eat it. So it's not my fault. Not my fault. Y'all are eating the fish.
I don't eat it that often.
Actually, I do eat fish. I eat a lot of fish. I just don't eat shellfish. Because it's disgusting.
It's not. It's the best kind of ocean fish.
Ugh.
But they're dying in vain.
There's not even enough meat within a leg to satisfy a person. Maybe I just eat way more.
I know. Well, that's why people go to like casinos for the
all
crab,
you can eat.
The crab leg buffet.
Get that all you can eat buffet.
Like 300 freaking crab legs in one sitting. Put your bibs on.
Real. Get out your clackers.
Don't give me the clackers.
I don't even know if that's what they're called, but that's what I call them.
The clackers. The crackers. The clackers.
Oh, it's is that what it is?
I don't
Crackers?
know.
I always
Leg
called them
crackers?
clackers.
The clackers.
Oh no, because you can clack them like a musical instrument.
Clack on. Clack off.
More clackers.
More clackers.
I got a fever.
And the only cure is more clacker.
Get out your lobster clack.
Gosh, we're giving a lot of shout outs today. Walking in a winter wonderland.
It's my favorite meme. I share it every single Christmas. It makes me so happy. I love Christopher Walken.
I was watching an interview one time with Dave Grohl, and he was talking about how Christopher Walken was introducing the Foo Fighters on Saturday Night Live, and he asked how to pronounce it, if it was Foo Fighters or if it was Foo Fighters. And if you've never heard Dave Grohl imitate Christopher Walken saying Foo Fighters, you have to find that YouTube video because it is hilarious.
I will now.
Fresh Pots.
Fresh Pots.
I love Dave Grohl.
For real. We love everybody today. We're on the Matthew Gray
Right.
Gubler, Christopher Walken, and Dave Grohl. Y'all are learning a lot about us.
Elon Musk, man.
Scientists are stating that if nothing changes and we stay on the same trajectory of human needs-driven damage that we're on, the warming in the upper ocean will have approached 20% of warming by the year 2100.
Can I correct you and say wants-driven damage? Not needs, wants.
Yeah, you can.
Because we are so entitled.
By 2300, it will have reached between 35 and 50%.
That's not necessarily my opinion. It's just it's
That's
just
why
a
I didn't-
random comment.
That's why I didn't answer you. Although luckily, even though we worry about the destructive power of supervolcanoes like Yellowstone, apparently we shouldn't expect damage as bad as it was in Siberia. We shouldn't expect that size or longevity of an eruption, and also, a scientist by the name of Svensson thinks that Siberian salt might have been to blame for this massive of a tragedy. The combination of the heat from the lava and the salt on such a large scale significantly increased the gas emissions even more.
In the case of the great dying that we've already experienced, the amount of sulfur and other gases that were being pumped into the atmosphere due to global warming starved the Earth's oceans of oxygen by about 80%. The oceans heated up and the oceanic creatures experienced increased metabolism, which had them consuming more oxygen than usual. The seafloor became almost completely uninhabitable. We've been warned again and again that we are walking this wire still today.
Now, to me, it seems like the controversy isn't necessarily whether global warming is happening, but whether humanity is the culprit, or whether it's really causing the problems that some say it is. That we obviously don't know here at Bigfoot for Breakfast.
We could give some strong opinions, but
We
we
have-
won't.
We have so many opinions. So many. All the time.
A lot.
Facts, no.
Sometimes.
We have facts. They're just other people's facts. We are not world-renowned scientists yet. Life goals. The other side kind of makes sense too, that it isn't us causing the problems. It's said that volcanic eruptions such as Mount St. Helens in the 80s spews more greenhouse gases and pollutants into the atmosphere than mankind can produce in almost an entire history. So maybe it's just the natural cycle of Earth that it goes through and we're not making this much of a negative impact as some think. We don't know. And before we start getting hate mail for my mentioning the fact that maybe humans aren't all to blame, keep in mind that we're simply referring to statements made by scientists on both sides, who are a lot smarter than us. And we recycle. So
there's that. You know, it could be like a self-cleaning cycle, you know, every so often. Ew, you've got humans.
just wipe them out. Ew.
Like a lice treatment.
Like bed bugs.
We are kind of parasitic, but we're also kind of fabulous.
I bet bed bugs think they're fabulous too.
I bet they do. You guys ever find shower spiders?
No. No.
I don't know if they like the warm in there. You get your shower spiders.
I would just die if there was a... Have we already discussed the fact that
That you're
I'm
obsessive
terrified.
about toilet spiders? I
And
think we brought that up.
Toilet spiders and shoe spiders are like my worst fear. One time I had a car spider and I about died in my car. I mean, that was about the end of me.
Literally, before you put on a pair of shoes, they get thrown on the ground really hard first.
I caught my kids doing that. The other day, I was like, what are you doing? And she's like, there might be a spider in there. I'm like, right? That is a legit fear.
You're passing on your irrational fears to your children.
That is not irrational. One time, the guy from Casey's, I was standing outside my car staring into the interior while I was holding my pizzas, and I didn't know what to do because there was a spider on my center console, and it was a decent-sized spider.
You couldn't get in your car?
Well, all I could think about was it would go away. I would scare it when I got in, and then I wouldn't know where it was. And then it would appear as I was going 55 miles an hour. I mean, 55 miles an hour. Down the highway.
We also do not commit crimes here at Bigfoot for Breakfast.
No traffic violations here.
I ain't going back.
I ain't going back. Ever.
Importance. Back to the episode.
Where we at?
Although greenhouse gas emissions are a source of great debate, there are many, many other theories regarding the end of our time here on Earth or the eventual dying off of our planet. The asteroid threat has always been a popular idea, and many say this is the one that finished off the dinosaurs. Yet others think that the core of the Earth is cooling down, which would rid the Earth of its magnetic field. Some researchers think that if this happens, the ionizing particles of the sun would cease to be deflected, and the Earth's atmosphere would just wear away, causing all life to die. It's said that Mars was once probably more hospitable than it is now, and it once had, and then lost, a magnetic field. Gamma ray bursts are another concern. These are basically formed by large explosions in space, like when stars collide or when a giant star explodes. Theoretically, a long burst of gamma rays could obliterate the ozone layer of Earth and leave life completely exposed to deadly solar UV radiation. Earth seems to be pretty far away from the dangers of gamma ray bursts, since they most likely pose danger in areas of densely packed stars in the centers of galaxies. Although about 440 million years ago, it is said that the Ordovician-Silurian extinction wiped out several species, and some scientists suggest that there is fossil evidence that shows it was caused by a long burst. Many more scientists, however, are completely dismissive of this possibility, which I find comforting. But what I don't find comforting is the next problem, the expanding sun.
This is horrifying.
The sun is our life source. It bathes the earth in light, warmth, happiness, and rainbows, providing any possibility for energy and life. But it's gradually getting hotter, and eventually it will be warm enough to completely evaporate all of the Earth's oceans and cause a runaway greenhouse effect that will cause temperatures to skyrocket. After that, the sun will simply have expanded to the point that its surface is past where the Earth's orbit is, completely engulfing the Earth, which sounds utterly terrifying. But there's 2 other planets before us.
That doesn't mean that it'll stop.
Take that.
You'll
Venus.
go first. We also have the issue of the Brazilian rainforest, the so-called natural lung of the Earth. It is the world's largest organism, and despite efforts to preserve it, it also is dying. Much like other forests around the world, apparently reports state that the number of mammals, birds, fish, and reptiles around the world is down 60% since 1970. The vertebrate population in South and Central America is down 89% due to the decline of forests and destructions of habitats for the creation of farmland and mass killing of animals for food production, especially fish. The oceans are overfished, with more than half being industrially fished. The article stated that 300 species of mammals are being eaten into extinction.
Now, I don't want to put blame on certain unnamed pulp and paper companies, but you. Chemical pollution is also a major contributor. And then we have global trade, which is introducing invasive disease. Amphibians have been largely killed off by fungal disease that is thought to be spreading due to pet trade. I just saw an article the other day, I keep getting off topic, but there was a community and there was like this old abandoned farmhouse and people had noticed weird comings and goings, so they called law enforcement to go check it out, and then they ended up getting animal control involved in it. But they walked in the house and they showed a video. It looked like the floor was tiled. It was tortoises, baby tortoises. The whole house was just full of them. It was disgusting. And they were like inhumane conditions. I don't know what they were doing with all these tortoises.
Probably selling them.
Do you know how big tortoises get?
Mm-hmm.
What are they going to do with them? Where did
mean,
they get them all? They didn't have any idea. They went to like the Galapagos and came through freaking customs with tortoises taped under their clothes, which has happened.
I read an article a while back that someone had like a snake inside, what was it? Like a little tiny makeup container. And they went through and they got caught with this exotic baby snake.
How many people do you think go through customs with butt snakes?
I don't want to think think about that at all.
Or Vagini snakes.
They don't do that.
Oh, I bet they do.
I can't accept. Ooh, why?
Did you see that picture on Facebook where the dude got busted with birds taped to him?
No.
They were like all taped to the inside of his shirt. Like he had like a bird belt under his shirt. It was like cockatiels or something.
I've had cockatiels and there's no way they weren't like, rah, rah.
I don't know that they weren't sedated.
Oh, can you do that? Probably. I would think you'd have to. Be quiet, little guy.
They're so mean.
And they're not mean.
Well,
they're just loud.
They would be if you had them taped to you.
They probably wouldn't like that.
They're fighting for their lives. Fighting for his life. What's that on?
I have no idea.
Poor thing was fighting for his life.
I have seen. What is that?
Dracula didn't loving it.
No.
No? Are you sure it wasn't the doctor?
No.
And the guy was eating spiders?
Yeah, it was.
Yes.
It was.
You have a spider leg coming out of your mouth. Something like that. Poor thing's fighting for its life.
That is the second time we've quoted Dracula Dead Loving It.
I miss Leslie Nielsen, and he was a kind of a dashing gentleman in his day.
I'm gonna go ahead and admit that I do not like Leslie Nielsen.
I didn't like Airplane.
I didn't like Airplane, and I also, gasp, did not like Lethal Weapon.
No, the
Naked Gun.
I hate
Legal
Gun.
Just so we clear, Lethal Weapon is awesome.
First of all, I hate Lethal Weapon.
The Naked Gun is the worst.
I feel like
For as popular as that was,
Mel Gibson's character in Lethal Weapon was horrific.
You need to stop.
Opinions expressed here do not necessarily reflect the opinions of Bigfoot for Breakfast.
I think they obviously do.
I think it was a scientist's direct quote. It was science.
What does a scientist know about Mel Gibson's character? And Danny Glover was phenomenal.
I love Danny Glover. He was good. I just didn't like Mel Gibson's character.
I liked him.
I just don't know why. Maybe it was the haircut. I don't know.
When he form tackled that guy during the middle of the movie by accident, remember that?
Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, let's get back to...
The Earth is dying.
The Earth is dying.
All right.
Okay, so now we've talked about all the negative, horrible things that could possibly happen to human existence in this wonderful planet that we inhabit. And even though none of these things will likely happen during mine or my child's lifetime, I remain thoroughly freaked out and overwhelmed nonetheless. So let's move on to some of the more interesting positive things that are going on in response to this information that scientists are dishing out regarding our hopefully not so bleak human future.
For years and years, astronomers have dreamed of a shiny new planet that would be inhabitable for humans that they could present to society as a sort of backup plan. Even if a planet like this is found, one that could easily support humanity, it would likely be one that takes millions of years to get to with the technology we have today. But keep in mind, it's worth exploring because all the things on the previously mentioned list of things that could destroy life on Earth aren't expected to happen for millions of years. I'm pretty sure technology will come a pretty long way in that span of time. Human technology is evolving so quickly that we can't even begin to predict or understand what will have evolved in the next couple of million years.
When I think about traveling to another planet, I think of WALL-E.
I love that movie for this very reason.
Yeah, and we're all going to end up being gigantic, living on a ship, drinking cupcakes from a cup.
From a cup.
I would totally, I'm on the cupcake in a cup bandwagon. I would do it.
I don't like the idea of slurping any food that's supposed to be solid.
When we were kids, there wasn't even an internet.
The interwebs were not a thing.
Well, was it a thing? It was just starting out. It wasn't like a widely spread thing.
Not every house had the internet when we were kids. We didn't have the internet.
Anyway, so when I was younger, if someone had told me that someday I would own what amounts to be a computer that I could carry around in my pocket with endless amounts of information at my fingertips, I would have thought that they needed one of those 48-hour vacations in a nice little facility. So we've come a pretty long way in my time. Imagine what will be going on in 20 years, 100 years, and so on. Which technically they kind of did tell us, like in a soft disclosure. William Shatner did it. He told us all.
Told us what?
Beam me up, Scotty. All the technology that we have today was part of Star Trek.
Yeah, but
Legit.
Look at what the movies are about now. So, finding a plan B. Astronomers look for stars using a few different methods, but by far the most popular is the transit method. They use the Kepler Space Telescope to gaze out into the unknown, and if a planet happens to pass directly between a star and the observer, it will will block out a tiny portion of the star's light. By watching for this, they have discovered thousands of confirmed or suspected exoplanets outside of our solar system. Most of these planets are huge. Huge! In relation, the Earth is a pretty small place. Most of the exoplanets that they're finding are the size of Jupiter or bigger. They're looking for planets that reside within what is called the Goldilocks zone from its star. It can't orbit too close or too far away from its sun, or they know there won't be any liquid water on the planet. So far, no matter where on Earth has been studied, there has never been an organism found that can survive without liquid water. Scientists know that the essential building blocks for all living things are hydrogen, nitrogen, oxygen, and carbon. NASA scientist Chris McKay states that since there are likely trillions of planets out there, we might as well start looking for life that follows the rules that we already recognize. He states, "I know how to search for organic material. I know the important signatures. So the search for life starts out following water, following carbon, not because we can prove that it's the only way to do it, but because that's the only way we know how to do it. So they choose to start by looking for planets like the one they know can sustain life. The only way that we know how to identify life is by using the same DNA metabolism and carbon-based structure that is shared by all life that we already know." But what is all life made of? The NASA website states, "We won't really know what life is until we find an alternative to what we know now. ET life could tell us what life really is." It seems like the space research centers are on more of a mission than ever to discover life in the great unknown.
NASA researcher Silvano Colombano states that for so long we've known that certain key building blocks allow for life as we know it, but it's possible that the universe contains very different forms of life. Our carbon-based ecosystem might just be a tiny first step in continuing evolution that can produce forms of intelligence far superior to ours, which are no longer based on carbon. As far as other types of life, the petri dish of its home planet could have concocted something totally different from what we are. Colombano goes on to state that this theory goes on to impact all other assumptions. Life that is not carbon-based may have access to interstellar travel due to a lack of human limitations.
That sounds pretty exciting. Kepler 22b was the first planet found by the telescope within the Goldilocks zone of its sun or star. The next step would be to find out how big it is and what it's made of. If it's small, it would likely only be made of rock and ice. If it reached a certain size, it would be able to hold a certain level of gas, and it would have an atmosphere, like our very own Earth. If too big, it would qualify as a gas giant like Jupiter and Saturn. Scientists can tell how big a planet is by viewing its star and detecting the amount the star wobbles in response to the gravitational pull of its planet. If it's a tiny amount of wobble, it's a very small planet. Due to information that they got from the Kepler telescope, they're thinking that this is a dense water world with an ocean floor that is thousands of kilometers below the surface of the water.
It would be hard to sustain human life, but could easily support others. But where NASA was just looking for microbial life, they are now looking for signs of advanced life. Life that is advanced enough to create technology. Life that they can communicate with. They're looking for something called technosignatures. And as of now, the best known technosignature are radio signals. But they're exploring others as well, like laser emissions, signs of massive structures, or a polluted atmosphere on any one of these exoplanets within the Goldilocks zones of their stars. And this really isn't a new concept, it's just become more realistic the more space technology advances. NASA has also faced various funding obstacles throughout the decades, but now, with the help of the Kepler telescope and the discovery that our galaxy is filled with planets, the interest has become much higher, and they're finding new ways to make it happen.
Many people suspect and claim that the universe has been teeming with life over the massive expanse of time that it has been in existence. Have we just missed it? Are we too late? Are we destined to be one of the earlier civilizations in the history of space, having come and gone before the universe changed enough for life to be plentiful within our physical reach? In the great scheme of things, the lifespan of the universe is infinite, and the length of time that humanity has been in existence on that scale is extremely minute. We have had trouble finding not only microbial life, but even finding hospitable conditions in which microbial life could presently live. Think of it on just the scale of Earth. Over time, the Earth has evolved, and physically and atmospherically it has changed a great deal over the course of billions of years. And over time, huge and intelligent civilizations of people have come and gone. They've been thriving, and then they've been non-existent. Over the course of the universe, this can also also be the case.
Some scientists believe that if Martians left their home planet so many years ago, the most likely next habitable and closest planet for them would certainly have been Earth. And they believe that that's just where they went. The theory is that we are not from Earth at all, and we are all just descended and evolved beings from Martian life that ended up here within dire circumstances that forced them out of their home. There has been talk about a contact inside the U.S. Defense Intelligence Agency who told a reporter that his entire job for 23 years was to analyze and monitor 3 extraterrestrial groups who were inhabiting Earth and living obscurely inside the mountains, underground, and in deep caverns. He monitored their geopolitical and territorial conflicts. He stated that they have links to Mars, Sirius, and Zeta Reticuli, and have a great deal of influence over our lives. He also stated that they regularly study humans. Scientists have also speculated for years that the asteroid belt that lies between Mars and Jupiter is actually the wreckage of a planet that used to exist there. The speculation continues to, what if there was an alien presence on this planet, and some of them escaped the planet before its destruction? Did they end up here? If this situation occurred, it would seem likely.
Thanks to the rover Curiosity, scientists have firmly determined that Mars in ancient times was significantly wetter and warmer. This would certainly have made Mars hospitable because all of the ingredients for life would have been present here and likely stable for millions of years. So, did microbial life begin here? Did it evolve? There are many who claim evidence of ancient Martian life. There are signs that this may be true, buried under millions and millions of years of dirt and sand, but no definitive proof. The journey continues to find any evidence of life because it would mean that the odds of eventually finding intelligent life in universes farther away increases dramatically. NASA states that one origin of life on Earth could be the result of a remarkable and inexplicable pathway to life. 2 origins in one solar system strongly suggests that life is commonplace in the universe. It would give them more credibility to keep searching, like an island castaway searching for any signs that they are not alone. We as humans desperately seek companionship and communication with others.
Ancient times seem to hold a lot of indication that otherworldly civilizations have influenced humanity in several ways. From minuscule drawings on the walls of caves and temples to huge advancements in ancient technology that seem far more complicated than they should have been able to achieve at the time. Not only that, but things that ancient human civilizations have accomplished that have physicists scratching their heads even today, because it's a total mystery as to how they could have possibly accomplished them. I'm sure that if you're listening to this podcast, that these are things that you've already read about numerous times, but let's quickly cover some of these interesting alien influences anyway. We'll go ahead and delve into some of this, such as cave and temple drawings of what looks to be an alien spacecraft with emissions coming from it, landing on the ground and speaking with the humans there. Maybe this is depicting some of the beings who came to Earth to share some of this knowledge and technology with us, but where are they visiting from? It must be light years away from what we know. How are they getting here? We on Earth are so limited by our lack of technology and need for deeper understanding of physics to make travel like this work. So, this made me curious, and I read quite a bit about this, but the most interesting and basic piece of information that I found was this quote. There are technologies that can bend space and time, point to point, and there's a writer named Philip K. Dick, and he wrote in one of his books, an absolute accurate description of what I know to be true out there. You can control gravity, space, and time. You can be at this point and you want to go to this point. It doesn't matter if it's 1 billion light years, 10 billion light years. You just make the technology take the point where you are and the point to where you want to go in the universe, and you close it. And you can build a doorway on the planet that you're beginning on, and on the other side of the doorstep, you can be on another planet light years away. This is happening in our universe now. There are beings who can step without using time from one end of the universe to the other.
I think that's awesome, for the record. So anyone who has seen Ancient Aliens knows that there are plenty of people who theorize that aliens have been visiting us since the beginning of our time on Earth, planting seeds and helping evolution along. This idea was first presented in the 50s by a Soviet mathematician named Mikhail Agrest.
Back to Philip K. Dick, the author that we mentioned earlier, the government was said to have been tracking him after a contact experience that he allegedly had with a spacecraft called the Black Knight, and this was possibly a link to his death. In an online docuseries called Mysteries of the Solar System, a man named Randy Kramer from the Marine Corps Special Section is interviewed and states that the Black Knight is said to be a satellite that flies around the planet in a very peculiar pattern in a polar orbit. It's hard to monitor because of its unpredictable flight and small size. Astronaut Gordon Cooper took a journey in orbit around Earth and came across this craft. He described the craft as black and green with a pulsing glow about it. They know that it is over 100,000 years old and has been recording information and data on Earth for almost all of this time. It is believed to be dead or failing at this time because it's no longer emitting or receiving signals. It seems to be sputtering information and controlled by an AI system. It's said to have somehow beamed data to Philip K. Dick, and this is how he received all of this information on which he based many books. And he obviously isn't the only one. This special section of the Marine Corps is apparently keeping tabs on many influential people who have allegedly been contacted by other worlds, such as Carl Sagan. Sagan is an astrophysicist who is very influential and whose mentor was said to be part of the Majestic 12, which we will also likely cover in a future episode.
Sagan was really one of the scientists who kickstarted the idea of ancient astronauts back in the 60s. He's one of the people who interpreted ancient Sumerian texts and found information about a fish-like being who taught our early civilizations agriculture, math, and arts. He also translated cuneiform tablets and posed the idea that there is an undiscovered planet in our solar system that orbits in a 3,600-year cycle. This is home to an alien race called the Anunnaki, and these beings were responsible for jump-starting our civilization and bringing all of these new ideas and technology into play and helping us advance. Sagan is the one who named their planet Nibiru. Fun fact, there is a whole lot being said about Nibiru lately, and it's coming back around in orbit close to Earth, and that it's going to cause a lot of problems here due to the gravitational pull that it will have as it goes by. People are concerned about a polar shift disrupting our ecosystems.
In the South Pacific and Papua New Guinea, there are primitive tribes who saw men flying airplanes way before airplanes were invented, who were fighting in some kind of war. The tribes people expressed in drawings that these beings were not hunters or fishermen, but they were friendly and shared things with them that were very beneficial. When the beings were done with their war, they abandoned their post on Earth and their airstrip and aircrafts. The primitive tribe didn't really know what to do with this, so they created effigies of the airplanes in order to invoke the godlike creatures who flew them and have them come back to visit and bring more gifts. The tribe expressed in their drawings that they thought the beings to be sent by deceased ancestors to help them.
There is a piece of art that sits in a that sits in the British Museum in London. It came from the palace of the king of Assyria in northern Mesopotamia and is dated 865 to 860 BC. The king, Ashurnasirpal, appears in the scene wearing the royal robe of the gods, while a Mesopotamian god named Shamash hovers above him in a winged disc with a ring in his hand, which is a symbol of sovereignty. It shows I don't know how to say that.
Shamash. Shamash.
He hovers over him in a winged disc, leading the king into battle. Ancient astronaut theorists think that Shamash is depicted as a flesh and blood ET and is part of a group of flesh and blood gods called the Anunnaki. The Sumerian records show that the Anunnaki was led by Enki, who came from Earth and taught them about the afterlife. Many drawings show Enki in a similar winged ship to Shamash's.
Many ancient Egyptian and Sumerian texts and art depict things that could easily be interpreted as flying saucers, men who came from the stars and taught them things, celestial journeys taken by a select few, and the knowledge that these few shared upon their return home after they'd been enlightened by their alien friends. The famous Nazca lines of Peru are said to be another example, as are the Moai of Easter Island. The Egyptian pyramids, Stonehenge, the medieval map that is the Piri Reis map, which is said to be a map of the Earth as seen from space, and many ancient texts and art. The book of Ezekiel states that a prophet had a vision of a flying machine that emitted fire, smoke, and noise. When described, the machine's design seems to match up pretty well with the description of modern UFOs. The Bible indicates several times that godly figures came from the skies to interact with earthly humans, helping them to build things and sharing their knowledge. Many massive monuments and structures were built with extreme mathematical precisions with megastones that would have been extremely unlikely to have been moved with the technology at the time. We're not sure what all of this means, but can definitely see how it poses a whole lot of questions and promotes alien theory.
There was an interview on Good Morning Britain with American astronaut Al Worden of Apollo 15, who also spent quite a bit of time orbiting the moon in the command module Endeavour. He was asked if he thought that the amount of money being spent by the governments on space exploration was frivolous, and why. He replied that he felt that this money was merely peanuts, and that it was absolutely essential that we continue to explore for the ensured survival of our species. He states that we will never colonize another planet within our solar system because there is no place there that will sustain us, and that we must continue to try to develop technology to take us further in the search for other Earths, because they are out there. He was then asked if he believed that aliens were real. He replied that he had been asked this question many times throughout his career, and he stated that he does believe that they're real, and that he believes that our species was not native to Earth and that we came from somewhere else originally to preserve humanity and created a civilization there. He referenced ancient Sumerian texts and told the host to go see what they have to say.
So that's it. That's the end of our episode for this week, and we want to say thank you for listening to Bigfoot for Breakfast. We hope that you were able to find some interest here and gain some other perspectives. There are such strange and unexplainable situations and places in the world and so many different interpretations, and it would be crazy not to explore them all. We will definitely be following and keeping up with what's going on in the search for exoplanets because to us, the thought of another Earth out there is simply fascinating. Also, we're going to touch on a lot of those other specific structures that we talked about definitely in later episodes, so look for that. If you get a minute and feel so inclined, stop by Apple Podcasts and drop us a review or whatever other platform. You have no idea how much this simple, short little task helps us out, and we appreciate it more than you know. Don't forget to push the subscribe button on whichever platform that you're listening from as well, so you can be updated whenever new episodes are posted. Until next time, my battery is low and it's getting dark.
Come at me, bro.